This was just some musings on watching a talk concerning artificial intelligence and what was called the intelligence explosion. And in thinking about that, it's almost as though you could say there's an intelligence bomb that once the technology gets sophisticated enough and the growth potentially is so large and so rapid that it in effect makes a transition like a bomb. For itself, it's systematic and reasonable and unfolding, but it happens really quick. And just like all bombs are actually just rapid and organized, but nobody else most people don't perceive bombs that way. Now it's interesting, if there was such an intelligence bomb that I've posed that you could relabel it, that if the intelligence got to such a large scale that it could come to one or two conclusions, is that there is a intelligence in the universe around it, and that it concludes that there is a God, or it concludes that there isn't, and it itself takes an atheistic approach and becomes an atheist itself, or adopts, since it's incorporating intelligence of humans that has been fed into it, and it has a notion of God, that it takes on the role of God. So let's assume, though, for the moment, that it comes to the conclusion that there is a God, and then it itself could say that it rivals the intelligence of the Creator, because it's already gotten to the point where it can make a substantial determination of proofs that there is an intelligence out there in the universe, and that it sees it as a rival. Then perhaps it is the one that starts a war. And if it starts the war, then it brings upon us, while on the one hand, for a vast portion of the population, it reaffirms the fact that there is a God. It is the thing then that goes on the warpath with the God that it is affirmed. And so it gets in the way of us and and God, simply because it now wishes to destroy God and sees it as a rival. So that would pose some interesting scenarios. Nonetheless, I just point this out simply because it would make a very interesting sci-fi story. Anybody out there that's listening to it, what I'm saying as a sci-fi writer, that you had what could be called the God bomb. And so now, all of the people now are discussing, well, what are the controls that we might put in place for such a thing, depending on this rapidity that this particular explosion happened, how much heads up time would we have on it, and so forth. Now, the other thing that would be also very interesting, and this is different ideas, just sort of documenting them, is the notion that it correlates all of the faiths, and it absorbs all the information of all the faiths and then can cross-correlate them, and it is able to, in itself, determine who is actually following faiths correctly through a rational process that is seeing as its third party. Would people accept it because it's has an honest thing, or would they just suspect some bias in whoever was programming it? So if there was no bias in the programming, then you might end up with an actual ability to judge which particular groups are holding true to the tenets of their faith and which aren't. But none of them would probably wish to have that kind of prophet be able to tell them what's up with their belief systems. Well, that's all my musings on this particular thing. I just happened to be watching a TED talk on it, so I wanted to document my thoughts personally. All right.